America is screaming. Sweden is silent. Ask yourself, who survives? Look at your screen. Look at the red numbers. Look at the panic in the headlines. The news anchors are shouting. The politicians are promising to fix it. The central banks are printing paper to try and stop the temperature from dropping. This is the sound of a nation in denial. They believe that summer must last forever. They believe that if they scream loud enough, the sun will refuse to set. Now look north. Look to the quiet forests of Scandinavia. Here, the snow is falling, the light is fading, the markets are cold. But there is no screaming. There is no panic. The people are not running. They are simply putting on their coats. They are lighting their fires. They are settling in. They know something that Wall Street has forgotten. They know that winter is not an error. It is not a mistake in the system. It is not a failure of the economy. Winter is a season. It is a necessary part of the cycle. Trees must shed their leaves to survive the cold. The forest must sleep to regenerate its strength. The weak branches must break under the weight of the snow so that the strong branches can have space to grow when the spring returns. We are entering a financial winter. The year 2026 is not a year for growth. It is a year for endurance. Most of you are terrified because you have built a portfolio for an eternal summer. You are naked in the snow. You are shivering because you believe the lie that the market only goes up. In this video, we are going to stop the noise. We are going to turn off the screaming. We are going to learn the Nordic art of acceptance. We are going to look at the psychology of survival. While everyone else is freezing to death in a panic, you are going to learn how to be comfortable in the cold. You are going to learn why the most dangerous thing you can do right now is try to fix the weather. Welcome to Mindset for Wealth. This is the truth about the coming cold. If you are ready to stop reacting and start preparing, subscribe to the channel. Let us walk into the snow together. You live in a culture that is addicted to summer. Look at the financial news in the United States. It is bright. It is loud. It is designed to keep your heart rate high. When the line goes up, there is green confetti. There are celebrations. They tell you that you are a genius. They tell you that you are getting rich. They trigger the dopamine in your brain just like a casino. But when the line goes down, the tone changes instantly. The screen turns red. The music becomes tense. The experts start shouting about crisis. They use words like crash and collapse and disaster. They trigger the cortisol in your veins. They make you feel physical pain. They make you feel that something is wrong. They make you feel that you must do something. You must act. You must fix it. This is the American disease. It is the belief that volatility is a failure. It is the arrogance of believing that we can control the seasons. We believe that if the Federal Reserve prints enough money, we can banish winter forever. We believe that if we work hard enough, the sun will never set. So what happens when the snow inevitably falls? What happens when the debt cycle turns, as it always does? The American investor enters a state of denial. You refuse to look at your portfolio. You tell yourself it will bounce back tomorrow. You listen to the voices on the screen who tell you to buy the dip. You try to catch the falling knife because you are terrified of the silence. But the market keeps dropping. The denial turns to anger. You blame the government. You blame the hedge funds. You blame the algorithms. You feel betrayed. And then finally, when the cold becomes unbearable, you enter the stage of panic. You sell. You sell everything. You sell at the exact moment you should be buying. You sell because you cannot tolerate the pain of the cold. You sell because you want the noise to stop. This is how wealth is destroyed. It is not destroyed by the market. The market is just a mechanism. The market is just a thermometer telling you the temperature. Wealth is destroyed by your reaction to the temperature. In the crash of 2008, millions of Americans sold their stocks near the bottom. They locked in their losses. They turned a temporary paper loss into a permanent life disaster. Why did they do this? Because they were not prepared for winter. They had no coat. They had no firewood. They had no mental framework for endurance. They thought the cold was an error, so they tried to escape it. Now compare this to a pension fund in Scandinavia. When the market crashes, the office is quiet. There is no shouting. There are no emergency meetings. They do not sell. They rebalance. They look at their asset allocation. They see that stocks have become cheap and bonds have become expensive. So they sell the expensive bonds and they buy the cheap stocks. They do this mechanically. They do this without emotion. They do this because they know that winter is the best time to buy summer assets. They do not try to fight the cycle. They use the cycle. While you are screaming at the snowstorm, they are buying the land underneath it. In the Nordic countries, we have a tradition called winter bathing. We walk out onto a frozen lake. We cut a hole in the thick ice, and then we strip down to our skin and we lower ourselves into the black, freezing water. The moment your skin touches the water, your body screams. Your brain enters a state of immediate shock. Your heart pounds. Your lungs gasp for air. Every instinct in your biology tells you to get out. It tells you that you are dying. It tells you that this is a mistake, but you do not get out. You stay. You force your breath to slow down. You look at the horizon. You accept the cold. You embrace the pain until it stops feeling like pain and starts feeling like clarity. And in that moment of acceptance, the panic disappears. The water is still freezing, but you are no longer suffering. You are in control. This is exactly what you must do with your money in 2026. When you open your brokerage account and see that your net worth has dropped by 20%, your body will scream. You will feel the shock of the cold water. You will feel the urge to run. This is the moment that separates the wealthy from the poor. The poor investor panics and climbs out of the water, freezing and defeated. The wealthy investor breathes. You must reframe what is happening. A drop in price is not a loss of value. It is compression. Think of a metal spring. To make the spring jump high into the air, you must first press it down. You must compress it. The harder you press it down, the more energy it stores. The market is a spring. The recession is the hand that presses it down. If you sell now, you are destroying the spring. You are releasing the tension before the jump. You are guaranteeing that you will never see the recovery. But you cannot stay in the cold water forever without preparation. In the North, we survive the winter because we have firewood. We do not go into the forest to chop wood when the blizzard is blowing. We chop the wood in the summer. We stack it high against the wall. We let it dry. When the snow comes, we do not have to go outside. We just have to reach for the wood we already have. Your portfolio needs firewood. Firewood is boring assets. It is short-term treasury bills. It is gold. It is cash in a savings account. It is defensive stocks that pay dividends even when the economy stops. The American investor hates firewood. He thinks it is useless because it does not grow fast. He laughs at the man stacking wood in July. He puts all his money into technology stocks and cryptocurrencies because he thinks the sun will never set. And then November comes, and then the snow starts to fall. And suddenly, the man with the boring firewood is the richest man in the village. Not because he made the most money, but because he is the only one who is not freezing to death. The modern financial world tells you to optimize. It tells you that if you are not getting the absolute highest return, you are losing. It tells you to use leverage. It tells you to trade options. It tells you to squeeze every single drop of profit out of the market. This is the trap of optimization. When you try to optimize for the perfect summer, you become fragile to the winter. When you tune your engine to run at maximum speed, it explodes when it hits a bump in the road. We have a word in Sweden that is the antidote to this poison. The word is Lagom. It translates to not too little, not too much. Just the right amount. It is the psychology of enough. The American investor asks, how can I get rich as fast as possible? The Nordic investor asks, how much is enough to be free? These are two different games. The first game has no finish line. You will run until you collapse. The second game has a finish line, and once you cross it, you are safe. The power of Lagom is that it builds a floor under your feet. If you are satisfied with a boring return of 5% or 7%, you do not need to take risks that can wipe you out. If you are satisfied with a reliable used car instead of a financed luxury car, you do not need the market to stay at all-time highs just to pay your bills. Your lifestyle is your shield. When you lower your burn rate, you increase your survival rate. The person who needs $10,000 a month to feel happy is incredibly vulnerable. The person who is content with $3,000 a month is invincible. The market can crash 50%, and he will still be standing. He will still be warm. This is the hardest psychological shift to make. We are wired to want more. We are wired to compete. But in the winter of 2026, the prize does not go to the one who grew the fastest. The prize goes to the one who did not die. You must train your brain to sit on your hands. When the news is screaming at you to sell, doing nothing feels like torture. It feels like you are being passive. But in reality, doing nothing is the most aggressive action you can take. It is an act of defiance. You are refusing to let the chaos of the world dictate your actions. You are refusing to participate in the panic. You are practicing the discipline of enough. You are watching your portfolio drop, and you are whispering to yourself, I have my firewood. I have my shelter. I have enough. Let it snow. We are now facing a convergence. The winter of 2026 is not like the winters of the past. In previous cycles, the government had ammunition. They could lower interest rates to zero. They could print trillions of dollars without immediate consequences. But this time, the gun is empty. The debt is too high. Inflation is sleeping just beneath the surface, waiting to wake up. This means the central banks cannot save you this time. They cannot warm up the atmosphere. They have to let the temperature drop. They have to let the forest burn to clear out the dead wood. My prediction for you is simple. The noise is going to get louder. As the reality sets in, the denial will turn into desperation. You will see headlines that terrify you. You will see friends selling their assets at the bottom. You will see anger in the streets. The temptation to join the chaos will be overwhelming, but you must remember this prophecy. The winner of this cycle is not the one who moves the fastest. The winner is the one who remains the most still. The wealth of the impatient will be transferred to the patient. The assets of the noisy will be transferred to the silent. The portfolio of the gambler will be transferred to the stoic. When the dust settles and the snow melts, the only people left standing will be the ones who accepted the winter. The ones who did not try to fight gravity. The ones who understood that the only way to win a war against the cold is to simply outlast it. Winter is not the end of the world. It is the filter of the world. It separates the fragile from the strong. It separates the tourists from the locals. You now have a choice. You can be the tourist, screaming at the weather, trying to sell your coat for a quick profit, or you can be the Nordic stoic. You can stack your firewood. You can sit by the fire. You can watch the snow fall with a sense of peace, knowing that spring always follows winter. But spring only comes for those who survive. Be the one who has firewood. Be the one who survives. If you want to build the exact portfolio that can withstand this winter, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. In the next video, I will show you the specific assets that act as the warmest coat for your money. Thank you for watching Mindset for Wealth. Stay warm.